What's going on, guys? Kpine here and welcome back. And in this video I'll be featuring the team that I climbed all the way to legend with in season 17 of the GOBattleLeague. Shadow Poliwrath on the lead, Vigoroth as the safe swap, and Gligar in the back. Been a part of this channel for a little while now. You'll know that with my legend videos, I like to explain how to play out some of the more common leads and safe swaps you'll see. Since this is in the GreatLeague remix, for the first 5 battles I'll be doing just that, and for the last 5 battles I'll be showcasing the legend set. But don't worry, because for GoBattle Week coming up on January 19th through the 24th, I'll be having a full in-depth team breakdown for the GreatLeague that you all can take advantage of. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned to the channel for that. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Shadow Poliwrath into Lickitung. This is a very positive lead for us, and our opponent's going to safe swap into a Shadow Gligar. So for this matchup, it's how you play out a Gligar or Shadow Gligar safe swap. You're going to stay in, shield that Aerial Ace, fire off that Icy Wind right away to get the shield back, and then safe swap into your own Gligar. This way, you're able to keep alignment with a favorable lead for something that's weak to counter, say Lickitung or something like a Guzzlord. In this situation, since it is a Lickitung lead, I'm actually not going to come back in with my Shadow Poliwrath. I'm going to come in with my Vigoroth to absolutely shut down that Lickitung and get a ton of energy. So my Aerial Ace does land, and I know that in this situation I am going to have to tank another one and I can commit to the farm down. But my opponent's switch clock comes right back up in time, so I'm going to fire off this dig, load up a little bit more energy, store this energy if I can and get out, but I cannot, so I'm going to fire off this next Aerial Ace and then swap into my Vigoroth and just commit to the counter down. These licks are double resisted, so they're doing absolutely nothing to the Vig. I will have to tank 2 body slams in the process, but that is perfectly fine because I will come out absolutely loaded on energy. Second body slam does land, commit to the farm down of the Lickitung, and then in comes a Charjabug, and Vigoroth with access to Rock Slide is going to put in an absolute clinic in this end game. They try and make a catch onto their Shadow Gligar, but all it does is give me more farm, and now I can go for body slams to close it out. The Lickitung matchup also reminds me, say your opponent safe swaps a Lickitung. If you are very quick on the counter swap to your Vigoroth, what you can do is you can just throw 1 body slam and then counter the Lickitung all the way down before they're able to reach 3 body slams and come out with a ton of energy. Next matchup, Shadow Poliwrath into Charjabug. We're going to throw 1 counter, safe swap into our own Vigoroth. We throw 1 counter because any amount of energy lead you can get on your Shadow Poliwrath is very deadly for the end game. We will shield up the X-Scissor because what your opponent likes to do in these situations, get X-Scissor worth of chip and then swap into something that can handle a chipped Vigoroth. But by shielding that X-Scissor, it now causes them to deal with a full health and an energy advantage Vig. So in this case, they counter swap with the Skarmory, be able to land both Rock Slides, and now this allows me to double shield and make a play for switch. I normally don't recommend going down 2 shields in these situations, but since I do have a Gligar in the back that I can now put on that Charjabug, which absolutely shuts it down, them having that 2 shield advantage is perfectly fine since I'm able to get switch. My opponent is forced to throw an X-Scissor here, otherwise I'd reach in their body slam, and they have a Whiscash in the back. That's perfectly fine because I can survive this Mud Bomb. Now I'm going to fire off this Icy Wind right away because I'm not even going to bother building up to the Scald. I know that I need to lower the Whiscash's attack and get off as much damage as possible. So my opponent here is going to fire off a Mud Bomb, and now I'm just barely able to hang on and make it to a Scald before they reach their next Mud Bomb. So the reason why, again, I go for the Icy Wind to start with because this is their last Pokemon, and my opponent knows that they need to keep their Whiscash alive to deal with the Gligar, so they're going to be shielding no matter what, so that's why it was a safe play there, and then I go for the Scald second for the knockout. So my opponent here has a Ferrothorn lead, and in this matchup, we're going to be taking a look at a Shadow Dragonair safe swap. On a Shadow Dragonair safe swap, what you can do is shield, go for the Icy Wind, I no bubble it just because I'm expecting them to shield, and even if they're not, I get extra farm. But now you can just counter all the way down. That one turn desync your opponent gets from swapping in their Shadow Dragonair allows Shadow Poliwrath to counter all the way down. And that's perfectly fine because with that Feral on the lead, I have a counter user in my Vigoroth in the back to deal with it. For something like a Shadow Dragonair lead, if your opponent throws their Body Slam on good timing against your Shadow Poliwrath, they will reach 2 Body Slams. So be mindful of that. But if they throw on bad timing, like you get a sneak of a counter, then you will be able to counter all the way down before they reach a second Body Slam. That's for a Shadow Dragonair lead, so keep that in mind. Now in this situation, my opponent does have a Gligar, so I'm going to bring my own Gligar in to meet it. And at this point, Vigoroth is my win condition, because again, it is my counter user for their Ferrothorn. So I'm going to save my shield for that and get a big energy lead instead. Now I'm going to throw one more counter, wait a turn to make sure they don't catch, so I can get rid of this Gligar. And now all that's left in the back is the low health Ferrothorn, where they can fire off a Power Whip here, but they are not going to be able to outpace to a second Power Whip before I reach a Body Slam and my opponent concedes the match. GG's. Next battle, we lead Shadow Poliwrath into Vigoroth. And this is for the save swap as well. It's a Jellicent save swap. Make sure to throw your Scald after 9 counters on a Jellicent save swap. That is for good timing. And you may think, like, what do you do against Jellicent? It beats this entire team. Well, that's what Poliwrath is for. You see that after the counters in the Scald, the opposing Jellicent is already in the yellow. It's the power of Shadow Poliwrath is absolutely crazy here. So we will shield up that move. I swap to try and catch a Shadow Ball on my Vigoroth. Are we successful in being able to do so? No, my opponent does react in time, fire off a Surf. But that is okay because these debuffed Surfs are not doing much. And instead, I can use this as a chance to get an energy lead on my Vig. For now, when my opponent brings in their Vig, I have a Body Slam to fire off at it. But it's crazy to think that a counter user is a decent answer to Jellicent, which should not be the case, but Shadow Poliwrath is an absolute unit. Because once you get those Icy Wind debuffs or the Scald damage with the potential debuffs, you can just put in a ton of work there. So here, now I'm just going to commit to the Wing Attack down. I know I will have to tank a Body Slam in the process, but the Vigoroth is low health enough where I can get the Wing Attack down, leave with a ton of energy to fire off at the Jellicent when it comes back in. My opponent's waiting out their clock, and they have a Shadow Victory Bell in the back, so this matchup is over. I'm going to fire off one Aerial Ace right here to get their shield, and then I just overfarm to 2 Aerial Aces, which if they try and make a catch or not, it does not matter. And we're able to take that one. GG's. Next battle, I lead Shadow Poliwrath into Lickitung, and this one's going to be focused on the save swap as well, being a Poliwrath or a Shadow Poliwrath. We're going to fire off this Icy Wind right away to take advantage of that one turn desync. This way it allows us to guarantee switch advantage no matter what. We just match shields with our opponent, and by doing that, we'll then be able to put our Vigoroth onto the Lickitung and shut down my opponent. And because they went for Scald there and did not get the debuff, I can commit to the counter down. If they go for an Icy Wind or get a debuff with a Scald, I'll most likely have to throw another Icy Wind to take them out. But again, that's fine because I outpace. With a Poliwrath lead, you are going to want to go for the Icy Wind right away as well. Don't even build up to the Scald, just go for the Icy Wind right away. And this will let you know if you win CMP against the opponent or not, because most throw it right away. If you do win CMP, then you can just go for a Scald the second time around, as a second Icy Wind will not knock out. If you don't win CMP, then you can overfarm. GG's my opponent in that battle. Next one, Shadow Poliwrath into Whiscash. We are going to shield up the first move, because after the Icy Wind debuff, these Mud Bombs will be doing less. We build up to the Scald and then go for the Icy Wind for that debuff, but we build up to the Scald to potentially try and get a shield from our opponent, which we do in this matchup. So now they're going to be firing off another Mud Bomb, which is now debuffed, allowing us to comfortably take 2 from here. And now we're going to build up, play to the CMP tie, and fire off the Scald. Because my opponent tries to call an Icy Wind will not KO, but a Scald will, and we're able to get switch advantage. Now they bring in a Shadow Gligar, which we're able to hang on, make it to yet another Icy Wind here, guaranteeing that shield for my opponent. They do get the farm down, but that's okay because we have a non-debuffed Gligar to come in and shut it down. We're now in the back. They have a Skarmory and up a shield. Vigoroth is going to be able to take care of this game. Or take care of the Skarmory, I should say. Because we do fire off 1 Rock Slide, and we are going to outpace to the second Rock Slide before they reach 2 moves. So we can comfortably shield this up. It is the Brave Bird as my opponent full sends it. And now maybe a Body Slam would KO from here since they just heavily debuffed themselves to the Brave Bird. But I wanted to guarantee the knockout with the Rock Slide. And from here, with this health advantage that my own Gligar has, I will be able to close out the game. As we end up losing CMP on the Aerial Ace. But again, that is fine because 2 Aerial Aces from my opponent will not knock me out. So my Aerial Ace does land. I'm not going to be able to get the Wing Attack down in time before I reach another Aerial Ace. So I just go for the CMP tie here, as again, my Gligar will survive this Aerial Ace from my opponent. And now this move will knock them out. GG's. Next battle. Lead Poliwrath into Whimsicott. And this is actually the second battle of the Legend set. Last battle was the first one as we're able to pick up the W. And now we're going into the second one. I need a 4-1 to clinch Legend. My opponent does have a Whimsicott on the lead. I'm going to save swap into my Vigoroth. If they're running Grass Knot instead of Seed Bomb, I will be able to outpace to my Body Slam and throw it right away to reset that desync given from switching in. But since they're running Grass Knot, they can throw that right away, take advantage of that 1-turn desync themselves, and then send in Skarmory. So that's one big advantage of the Vigoroth save swap, is it baits out the Jellicent or the Skarmory so your Gligar does not have to see it. And then Poliwrath comes in and takes care of the rest of it. So I'm going to bring in my Poliwrath here, commit a shield, and then commit to the counter down. My opponent smartly goes for Brave Bird to give me less farm. And here's where I make a crucial mistake in this matchup. They're debuffed. A Seed Bomb is not going to KO. So I swapped to try and catch a Seed Bomb on my Gligar, but what I should have done is let them throw that Seed Bomb because again, I would survive it and make it to another Icy Wind, or swap when they're at the Moonblast to try and catch the Moonblast, as either them throwing the Seed Bomb onto my Poliwrath or catching the Moonblast onto my Gligar would put me into a pretty good position. But since I tried to catch the Seed Bomb and failed at that, I am now in a very tough spot. Whiscash does go for the Scald, and from here I stop attacking because I need farm on my Shadow Poliwrath. I need to try and be able to leave with a move to try and take care of that Whimsicott. But my opponent, their switch clock is up just in time as they're now able to combo play and take out my Poliwrath with the Moonblast. And they take that one. GG's to my opponent. So we're now at 1-1 on the set. Next battle, Jellicent Lead. So Jellicent safe swap, you throw after 9 counters. Jellicent Lead, you're going to throw after 10 counters. If your opponent does throw on good timing, which they do here, they are going to be able to outpace, but that is fine because we can commit a shield here. My opponent has a very nice Surf Bait right there, which is a little unfortunate, but that is okay. Now we're going to throw one more counter and the Scald, and we unfortunately do not get the debuff, but that is okay. You can see how much damage my Poliwrath has already done to the Jellicent. And the good news about a Jellicent Lead, once your Poliwrath is able to handle it, their back line generally tends to be weak to our back line. So our back line
has a good sweeping potential. So here, since they do have similar pacing, once I just about reach the next Scald, I swap into my Vigoroth, catch the double resisted Shadow Ball, and now my opponent either stays in to rebank more energy and then swaps into something else, which they do, but in doing so, that gives my Vigoroth a massive energy lead, and Vigoroth with a ton of energy is very, very dangerous. Unfortunately, they do bring in something which is able to soak that energy well, but nonetheless, this shows my point that on a Jellicent Lead, they tend to have stuff in the back that is weak to my backline. So from here, I'm going to overfarm as much as possible. I would play to the CMP Tide to the Rock Slide, fire off this Icy Wind, takes out the Carbink, and back in comes the Jellicent, and I'm going to fire off this Icy Wind right away. It is bad timing, but if I try and throw on good timing, they are going to outpace, and I won't be able to get the debuff off, where in the back, they have a Shadow Steelix, and I'm in a very good position to win this game. As they go for the Breaking Swipe, and fortunately, I do not get debuffed, so we're going to throw 4 more Wing Attacks, which is good timing against a 3-turn user. Dig is going to come through, do some massive damage to the Steelix, and now from here, I can just tank this next Breaking Swipe and commit to the Wing Attack down, which we do get, and since we win CMP over Jellicent and have the move stored, my opponent concedes the match. GG's. Next battle, we Shadow Poliwrath into Gligar. We're going to save swap into our own Vigoroth right away. Even though we have access to double super effective Icy Wind, the opponent does significantly outpace us. So we do want to come back into that matchup with some type of energy advantage later. But in this situation, seems like my opponent does not have a good answer to the Vigoroth save swap. So they are staying in with the Gligar. I will commit a shield as I do go for the dig, so it's a great call. And now they bring in a Dugong to try and catch the Body Slam, but we're patient. We're able to throw the Rock Slide, a good timing. My opponent just lets it go, which is very surprising considering Dugong does have access to Icy Wind as well. And most of them do shield the first move so that they can debuff you and take less damage later. But in this situation, I do go for the Body Slam, hoping it knocks out, which it doesn't. But it's fine because we now have switch advantage and are able to keep our own Poliwrath away from the Gligar. Now they bring in a Lickitung, and even though we are debuffed, these Licks are double resisted, so we're going to reach 2 Body Slams. And the super effective counters, as well as 2 Body Slams, are going to do quite a number to the Lickitung, again, despite being debuffed. So now that we have switch advantage, we are going to come in with the Poliwrath here and commit a shield to this Power Whip. We are now down 2 shields. What this does is allows me to stay in and get a debuff off against their Gligar. So we do tank that Aerial Ace, get off this Icy Wind, and now we're going to swap back into our own Gligar to deal with theirs. Now we're able to take a shield away from them, but their Gligar has very, very little health. As well as being debuffed, these Aerial Aces are doing basically nothing to me. So I'm just going to commit to the Wing Attack down and leave with 2 moves stored to take care of that Lickitung. I do go for the dig here. I should be going for double Aerial Ace just because of how low they are, but I do go for the dig here, of which does get the shield, and go for the second dig to guarantee the KO, since I do know I outpace either way. GG's to my opponent. We are now 3-1 in the set, going into game 5 and looking for that final win to secure us Legend. And in doing so, we face a tough lead in the Jellicent, but we know how to play this out. If your opponent does not throw a move, throw your Scald after 10 counters. But again, if they do outpace, so if they throw right away, you'll just give up that shield, then throw 1 more counter for good timing, and then the Scald. In this one, my opponent does full send the Shadow Ball, so that is a very nice shield by me, and we do get the Scald attack debuff, so things are going my way a little bit to start in this matchup. We're then going to overfarm some, shield up the next move, which is another Shadow Ball, again, 1 more counter, and then the Scald. And my opponent lets that go as well, and then they swap into a Vigoroth. So we're going to go for the Icy Wind. If your opponent lets that go and stays in, it's a a very choreographed Shadow Ball catch onto my own Vigoroth the next time they get it. And even if they shield there, as you saw last Jellicent Lead, since it's similar pacing, it's a very easy catch onto your own Vigoroth as well. But we do get that Icy Wind debuff off, and then swap into our own Vigoroth to then counter down and leave with a ton of energy. And my opponent has a Carbink in the back. So this is going to be a very, very close end game, since again, as we know, Carbink is extremely tanky, especially with 2 shields to hide behind. My opponent here makes a very nice catch on the Jellicent, but I'm perfectly fine with that. I had to throw a move at the Jellicent to take it out anyways, as I would not be able to counter down since they are double resisted. But my opponent throws off a Rock Slide before I'm able to get another move off, and from here, I can just bring in my Shadow Poliwrath. Not going to quite make it to the Icy Wind in time, so I will switch to my Gligar to catch, save all the energy, and allow my Gligar to be able to reach a move in the end game. So from here, my opponent has 2 shields. They are going to be shielding everything, so I'm going to build up to the dig and go for the Aerial Ace. As well as after these wing attacks, it basically puts the Carbink in Aerial Ace range to begin with. So I'm going to fire off 1 Aerial Ace, and from here my opponent has to commit to the double Rock Slide here, which they are not able to get to the double Rock Slide in time, as my Gligar reaches another Aerial Ace to take out the Carbink as we secure the 4-1 and Legend. So you'll see here the 4-1 set, claiming the rewards, and then all the way up to 3009 ELO. So the Ingo style pose coming through. Now we're going to take a look at the pose. Honestly, it's alright. It's not my favorite pose. I liked last season's Legend pose way better. But it is a nice mix-up and change of pace. As you've seen, this team, despite being an ABA counter one, has a lot of flexibility and room to jump around. Plus, when one of the Mons is Shadow Poliwrath, it's really hard to go wrong with as busted of a moveset as counter Icy Wind and Scald is. So feel free to give this team a try, as it is an extremely strong one, and like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll be having a full in-depth team breakdown for the GreatLeague just in time for GOBattleLeague, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.